Hi, today we're going to do a fender replacement. As you can see, my old one could stand to be replaced, but I managed to luck out and find one that was just the right color. First thing I did was I took off that front bumper corner piece, that black rubber piece. It's held to the fender with a clip that looks like this. And if you reach up inside the wheel well, you'll see it in there. And give it a good squeeze with a set of pliers or get a little Sasquatch on it. It'll pop out of there. And then to disconnect the other half of that piece, you'll just need to unbolt that bolt that goes through the front bumper. I think it's a 10 millimeter, and you may need to give it a couple knocks, but it'll pop out of there or slide up out of there, and you'll be able to pop that right off the corner of the bumper. Next up, you'll want to go and take off the ones that are closer to the center of the car, and then you can remove that whole chrome kind of cover piece that covers the bumper. Next thing I did, and you won't necessarily have to do this yourself, was I removed that piece. The clips holding it on were pretty much shot, and I managed to find these, which were a suitable replacement. They don't really look OEM. They're actually, I think, for Chryslers, but they fit in there. They do the trick, and I know they're going to last for a while. So next up, what I did was I removed that chrome strip that runs along the very bottom of the front grille, and I started with the center clip. But yeah, you just get a little screwdriver or something, and you can just work those clips out. Careful not to bend it. That chrome piece is pretty flimsy, and as you can see from the side profile, it only goes one way. So next up, I went to remove the grill itself. Started with there's a screw in the center, and then one in between each of the lights. You are also going to need to remove this chrome trim piece that goes around, and you see the red marks show where the two different screws are that hold it on there. When you do take it off, be careful. There's a little clip there that hooks onto a lip on the front of the fender, and you'll want to kind of curl it off. You don't want to just slide it out of there. You might break the clip. You'll notice that despite the fact you've unscrewed everything, the front grille wants to stay on. If you look in where I'm pointing and get a screwdriver, you'll be able to pop it out of there. There's two little clips, one on each side of the car, on the body itself that hold the grille on there. And once you've popped the front grille out, now is a great time to take a scrub brush out and give it a good cleaning. Next up, I removed this valance piece. You could have left that black plastic piece still attached and just removed this as a whole. It's held on by a bolt on either side, and there is also a bolt up underneath that's a little tricky to get to. With an extension, it's pretty easy, but it's doable either way. Next up, you've got the signal light on your fender, and simple Phillips head screwdriver will take that out of there. The light itself just pops right out of the assembly, so you can just pop it out of there. It's like a little rubber plug. And do not lose those clips. They're pretty crucial. Next up, I removed the mud flap and just tuck that aside. Don't lose the screws. You want to be able to put that back on. And then I also took the inner fender liner, fender removed, just so you can see it a little more easily. And I just took that and curled it up out of the way. Some people might be tempted to rip that out of there just to make it easier to work on, but you really don't have to. And now that you've seemingly removed everything but the fender, you're going to start. Starting with that bottom bolt, and then you can move on to the one up towards the front. You can either remove the whole brace or just disconnect it from that brace, and then you've got the two others along the front there that you need to take care of. After that, there's also one up by the door, a little tricky to get to. If you got a little mini ratchet or something, It's pretty easy, but a simple wrench will do the trick anyways. Hey, you got another one up front. And then finally the 4 along the top seam of the fender. Now when you have them all removed, you're still going to need to get rid of, well, you're going to need to cut through a sealant they used at the factory. And you can see in red where they put it. You're going to actually have to cut through that. I used a gasket scraper, and I found that worked pretty good. I started along the top seam of the fender. I started by finding a gap. So you might be able to find a little gap there, and that'll let you get it in there to get started. And I found the best technique is not to try and pry up on it, but just use it to try to cut through the sealant and move along the seam. Once you've cut through most of it, you'll be able to take the fender off with a good yank. Just be careful how you grab it, and it should pop right off. Up front, underneath, there's a seam there that might fight you a little bit, but just hook your finger in there, it'll pop free. Now that the fender's off, you're going to want to take that gasket scraper and make sure you scrape everywhere. Anywhere the sealant was, you'll want to clean off. Before you put the new fender on, you may even want to put some new type of sealant on there. I was reckless and I didn't, but I would recommend it. And now that you're ready to put it back on, you can put the fender back on, but don't tighten the bolts just yet. You'll want to hang the fender on the body by using those top 4 bolts, but you don't want to screw them in all the way just yet. Before tightening anything down, you're going to want to check the gaps and make sure that you would have the fender adjusted just right. Just look at all the different seams, and you just want to make sure that everything's symmetrical and that everything's nice and even. Also remember with the door to check the door. Open the door, check and make sure that it's not rubbing or anything before tightening everything down. When you are done and all your seams are nice and straight, then you can step back and admire your handiwork.